Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Hi there, welcome along. It's the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and the panel this week consists of my Racing Post colleagues James Hill and David Jennings, plus from Ireland in Paddy Power's office, the morning after the Christmas party there. It's all deserted, apart from a couple of hungover traders. Frank, though, skipped the Christmas party because he doesn't drink if he's working the next day. So well done, Frank the Tank Hickey. That means he's got a clear head and he's promised us he really fancies one later on. We are going to look ahead to a really great day's race. In fact, a great weekend's race. We've got 4 ITV4 races from Sandown, the highlight of which is the Tingle Creek. Aintree, we've got some fantastic action coming up over the big national fences. And then we'll get all the lads' fancies for the rest of the Saturday stuff. On Sunday, you've got the Hilly Way, you've got the John Durkin, you've got the Peterborough Chase. There's loads of great stuff there. So, weather permitting, we have got yet another great weekend's racing. And hopefully the boys have got loads and loads of winners for us. We will start with the highlight of the weekend, the 2:55 at Sandown on Saturday. It's the Betfair Tingle Creek Chase. Unfortunately, Duvan is not with us, which is very disappointing and has undoubtedly not just robbed the race of a lot of its lustre, but also left Fox Norton as a very strong favourite. Frank, how'd you bet?
Yeah, Fox Norton is 4-7, Politolog 3-1, Charbel 12-1, San Benedetto 14-1, Armad 16-1, and we're 25-1 bar.
We're not going to dwell on the fact that it is a disappointing race, although it undoubtedly is. Is it at the mercy of Fox Norton, James?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. No, it's still a proper Grade 1 2-mile chase. And Fox Norton's pretty short. I mean, yes, he's the most likely winner, but I do think him and his main rival, Politolog, I don't think there's much value in either of their prices. So I'm going to be taking them on with a proper Sandown specialist, which is, of course, Armad. Armad, 2 years ago at this meeting, won the Henry VIII in spectacular fashion. He actually won it in a faster time than the Dingle Creek winner. And he was also pretty spectacular in this race 12 months ago, early on. He was probably a bit too fresh that day, but he still ran well to finish 4th. He's had a run under his belt this time at Exeter in the Howden Gold Cup, where he was a bit disappointing. But they didn't really give him his head that day. And his trainers, Gary Moore, says he's willing to forget that run. So if you can put a line through that, I think at 16-1, he's quite good each way value.
16-1 Armad, a bit of each way. Do you think, David, that James is mad for going for Armad?
I can see where he's coming from, but he wouldn't be for me. Look, this race is just a bit of a disaster, really. I think let's call a spade a spade. We were hoping this would be Duvan v Altior, and it ends up being Fox Norton v Politolog. So, you know, this is very much the B team. But the thing about Fox Norton is, like, he's that type of horse. When one of those superstars doesn't show up, he's going to pick up the pieces every single day of the week. He's going to, he does what it says on the tin. He comes, he wins these races. When there's an opportunity there for a race like this to be won, he very seldom fluffs his lines, and he's shown that obviously in the Melling Chase last year. He was brilliant then at Punchestown and again in the Scholar Chase at Cheltenham. He just gets the job done. He's 4-7. There's no value in that. I think he's a slightly better horse than Politolog. I'd be surprised if any of the rest of them won. You just go back and you think of the days of Flagship Uberales and you know, Direct Route and all them, you know, top horses, Mastermind, the Sprinter Sacra, and you just begin to think, God, this is not the race to get you hugely excited.
All right, Morrissey, all right, enough of all
I'm
that.
far more interested in the Novice Chase.
Okay,
yeah,
so no bet for you, no? Is it a bet race for you, Frank?
It's probably not a bet race. I just think Fox Norton. To be honest, when Duvan, at the start of the week, when they were saying he was going to run, I would have been tempted to back Fox Norton to beat him. And now with Duvan out of the way, I just can't have him beaten. Like, if you look at his records, he's gone to Colin Tizard. He's had 6 chase runs, 4 wins, beaten 13 lengths by Altior, giving him £5, and arguably should have won the Queen Mother when beaten ahead by Special Tiara. As David alluded to earlier, when, like, he's probably not top class, but if he's not facing a top class rival, he's almost impossible to beat. And even though his price, it makes no real appeal, I can't see him being beaten tomorrow. Will
you be doing some distance stuff on him, do you think, on the day, Frank?
We probably will have distances up this evening, and we probably have maybe a match bet or something in there too. But
what might he be on the distances? 4, something like that? 4.5?
Oh, I'm not an expert on the distances, Bruce. I let the the extra markets traders do that, but yeah, I think he'd probably be something like 3.5, 4, something like that.
Okay, well, if David Jennings is moping about the quality of Tingle Creek, and to be fair, DJ, we are disappointed. There's absolutely no crabbing the lineup for the 145 at Sandown on Saturday. It's the Randox Health Henry VIII Novice Steeplechase. Races are normally named after legendary trainers or people who do great work for charity, but this one's named after a man who had 3 of his wives beheaded. It is a superb lineup, and Frank, to whet our appetite, what's the latest betting?
Yeah, it's an excellent race. Brain Power is 13-8, Finian's Oscar 15-8, Northern Harvey 13-2, and Captain and Sorial are both 7-1.
What a race, DJ, eh?
Bruce, this is the race I am most looking forward to this season. When I saw the entries, obviously it was reopened earlier on in the week, and you're kind of thinking, oh no, this is going to be another kind of small field disaster. And then you see the 5 runners that it's produced today. This is the most exciting race of the season so far for me. And I have already backed Brain Power for the Arkle, so I'm going to have to stick to my word. I didn't think that Finian's Oscar was going to show up, and I have to say I've been impressed by him as well. But every so often a novice chaser comes along that absolutely blows my mind, and my mind was blown at Kempton. It wasn't what he beat, and it wasn't even the distance he won by. It was more the manner of the victory. Winter Escape, to me, didn't look like it was. That wasn't the day for Winter Escape. There's going to be a handicap down the line for him. And Warsound didn't jump particularly well, and Mariah's Legend was pulled up. He's 50-1. But Brain Power jumped brilliantly. I'll tell you what I loved about him, and this might sound stupid. I loved when he landed, how quickly he found his next stride. He was so nimble on his feet every time he landed.
That does sound quite stupid, James, doesn't it? I mean, that's what horses do. They land and then they carry on running. What are you on about, man?
Yeah, but if you actually watch when he lands, it's almost like he lands running. He doesn't take time to find his next stride. He was landing running. Okay. And I don't think Cheltenham is his track, but I think places like, he's proven already at Sandown where he was brilliant last season, Sandown, Ascot, I think he's probably better going right-handed than he is left-handed. And he's favourite, but I think he deserves to be. I think he'll win the Arkle, and I think he'll win this race.
Strong stuff there from DJ. What do you think, James Hill?
I wouldn't disagree with what DJ's saying. I think Brain Power's a proper Arkle prospect. And I was very impressed with his chase debut at Kempton. He's got plenty of scope, obviously, and that's going to stand him in good stead here. But he you know, I think DJ was right. He was pretty nimble when he had to be. When he shortened up, he was good. Very strong opposition. I mean, it's a fantastic race. But if Brain Power returns to the sort of form which saw him as a champion hurdle contender last season, then I think he'd have to have a favourites chance here.
So you're going to stick with him?
Yeah, I'm going to go with him, yeah.
2 votes from the lads for Brain Power. He looks a little short to my untrained eye, Frank. I wondered about North Hill Harvey. Can you put a word in for me, or do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree there?
Yeah, I couldn't have North Hill Harvey tomorrow, to be honest.
Okay, might be backing him then. Who are you going to back?
I had... we weren't expecting Finian's Oscar to be declared for this now at all. There was a bit of scrambling around this morning, redoing the race when he was declared. And to be honest, I have yet to price the race properly, but I'll be pretty sure when I do sit down to price it after the podcast, I'll be making Finian's Oscar favourite, personally.
Ooh, will you?
Yeah, like as in Brain Power, I can see where the lads are coming from, but to my mind, and this is my opinion, I got it brutally wrong with Total Recall last week. But Brain Power is a horse that's brilliant in handicaps and brilliant in these small fields. But when he gets into Grey One Company, he's been found out, and I expect to be found out again tomorrow.
So you'll be smashing up Finian's, will you?
Like he just the drop and trip is a small unknown. Now he has won the Tallworths last year at Sandown, and he's only been beaten the once by Bacardi's in the Grey One a punch down when he was beaten a short head. He was probably a small bit unlucky to be caught right on the line. But at Cheltenham, he was very... You thought he was beaten coming to the last, and just the ease of which he cleared away from Move of the Times. I was very impressed. Now, it was over a bit further, but I think he's a superstar in the making, and he should be fav, and I'm going to have a right whack at him if he's floating around 2-1. Yeah, that's a holiday fund and early bet.
Brilliant. Frank is going to have a big whack on Finian's Oscar, the 220s, the Jumeirah Hotels and Resorts December Handicap Hurdle. And how do Paddy Power bet, Frank?
Yeah, Jenkins is 4-1, William H. Bonney 9-2, Fiddocks 5-1, Cross My Mind 7-1, Zubair and a hairbreadth are both 8-1, and we're 10-1 bar.
Do you really fancy any of the front 2 after last time, Frank?
Oh, definitely not Jenkins. I think he's there on reputation and reputation alone. And William H. Bonney ran with a massive amount of promise in the Greatwood. Turning in, he looked like he was going to.
Well, I was on him. He just fizzled, didn't he?
Oh, he looked like he just blew up. He just needed the run. He looked like he was going to run right away from then just stop. Like he was only half length down at the last.
Yeah.
He's beaten a fair way in the end. So I'd say he probably just badly needs the run. But yeah, I'd be taking the two of them on, to be honest with you. With a horse of Arthur Moore's called Cross My Mind. He's very lightly raced. He's only had, this will be his 6th run ever. He was 6th in the Punchestown Festival last year over 2 miles 5. Travelled really well into the straight, got a little bit hampered. Ran on, wasn't beaten too far, beaten about 5 or 6 lengths. But his last run in Down Royal over 2 miles is very eye-catching as well. Didn't get the clearest runs there either, but the winner, Top of the Ra, went on and won again. And Charlie Stout was second. He ran really well in that that valuable handicap Hurl of Fairy House last week. He wasn't beaten, I think, 6 lengths. But it was the 5th out of the loop was a smash-up job and a handicap for JP McManus as well last weekend at Fairy House. And Cross My Mind, he's so lightly raced. Arthur Moore brings him over. Barry rides. I think this could have an amount in hand. Slightly guessing a small bit, but yeah, he looks very promising, and I'll be having to stab at him each way just because I'm not a fan of Jenkins. I think he's an absolute hound.
What price are you?
7-1.
7-1, Cross My Mind. Okay.
Yeah.
James, what do you think will happen here?
I'd be happy to give William H. Bonney another chance. I thought that was a pretty good run in the Greatwood, really. It was a hot race, a hotter race than this. And he probably just got sent for home a bit too early. I think had it not been for that, he would have finished a bit closer.
He was absolutely tanking, turning in, wasn't it?
It was, I didn't think he was actually going that well at the top of the hill, but then they started pushing him up towards the front down the hill, and then he did look like he was going to get involved, but he didn't quite see it out. I do think this is an easier race. I think he's been dropped a pound or two, hasn't he, since that Cheltenham run, so that will give him a chance here, and he'll be fitter too. I think the Great would be as good a form as any in this race, so he would be the most solid one for me.
And for you, DJ?
Well, the first thing to say here, Bruce, is that Jenkins is an absolutely horrible, horrible, horrible horse. He did absolutely the complete opposite to anything David Bass asked him to do in the Greatwood. He did the opposite. He doesn't want to race. He doesn't want to know about it. I'm sure he's absolutely catching pigeons in Seven Barrows, but when he gets to the track, he has a horrible attitude, and I can't believe he's favoured. He is by far the most ability in the race off his mark. He's potentially, ability-wise, a Grade 1 horse, but he's just a horrible yak. Frank completely stole all my notes here. People, I suppose, older listeners will remember back to the days when Arthur Moore used to be the handicap man in these big handicaps, and he won the Imperial Cup, I think, back in 1999 with a horse called Regency Rake, I remember. And he actually has quite a good record at Sandown. And this Cross My Mind looks really well handicapped off 1, 2, 3. It's quite a clever bit of placing, I think, as well, by Arthur. He loved the ground as well. I think the key thing there is the ground as well, because he handles cutting the ground. When he won his Wexford Maiden Hurdle, which for Wexford probably wasn't the worst maiden hurdle in the world. He beat Monotype quite comfortably. That was on soft to heavy ground. His run at Down Royal, he was beaten 2 1/4 lengths. If he wasn't hampered and if he didn't make mistakes, he might well have won that race. And I don't think that was the day for him. I think he's an improving horse going places. He's 7-1 now. I think he could go off half that price, Bruce.
Rightio, and the other race at Sandown that's live on the box is the Betfair London National Handicap at 3:30. Another open contest, Frank.
Yeah, Sugar Baron is 4-1 after his eye-catching one at Cheltenham. Doing Fine is 5-1. Southfield Theatre, Oublan des Obeaux, Fletcher's Flyer and Questwell Breeze are 8-1. Dancing Shadow 9-1. The Young Master 10-1, and we're 14-1 bar.
Take some getting when it 3 mile 5. I'm sure I'm going to back Houblon again, James, just because I always do. Who's going to win this?
I'm going to take a little bit of a chance on, well, I wouldn't really call him an outsider, but a horse at a bigger price called Topper Thornton, who was a decent enough horse in his days in Ireland. I think he was rated as high as 130 at one stage, so I don't think off 132 this time that he's that badly treated. He ran very well on his first start for Alex Hales in the UK at Carlisle about a month ago. Finished second. The first 2 pulled about 7 lengths clear. And he looked like a track like Sandown would really suit him, and the ground should be in his favour. So a longer trip, a track that will suit him. And he's one of the few, I think, that looks a type of horse that could progress in this sort of race. So I'm going to go for him.
Topper Thornton. It sounds like the sort of person you went to school with. You know, I can imagine you going to a reunion and bumping into Topper Thornton.
Yes.
14-1. David Jennings, who's going to win this?
Oh, Bruce, I hate myself for this, but I'm going to back Fletcher's Flyer again. He's been pulled up on his last 2 starts, and you know, he's plenty of questions to answer, but everything screams that he's well handicapped off 140. Like, he won a handicap chase, a really hot staying handicap chase at the Punchestown Festival off 138. Like, he was disappointing, to say the least, in the Badger Rails, but he was backed into favouritism from double figures off a mark of 143. He's down to 140 now. Like, if you go back, he beat Sub-Lieutenant in a bumper back in his early days at Punchestown. He was only beaten 2.5 lengths in the Rendlesham at Ascot. Like, a race like this should be tailor-made for him. And it's interesting that Harry Fry is pitching him back into a race like this. He could have went somewhere smaller for a little bit of a confidence booster. But I think with Fletcher's Flyer, he might be a little bit claustrophobic. He got trapped in between horses at Wincanton. He seemed to hate it. He was on the inside, and he just seemed to bump into horses over fences. I'd expect him to be kind of a bit wider this time. I expect Noel to try and find some space. And this is the final chance in a tongue strap and cheek pieces that I'm giving Fletcher's Flyer.
You are so loyal and so faithful.
It's my worst trait.
Terrible. It will ensure a long marriage to the lovely Aoife, I'm sure. Frank, have you got a strong view on the London handicap?
Well, if I stole David's thunder on the last race, he's done it here. Well, I'm the exact same, where I'm standing on the edge of the cliff, ready to follow Fletcher's Flyer over it. I really like the horse. Like, again, I backed him for the Badger Rails, where he was a smash-up job. I think he was 12 or 14s into 6-1. Ran deplorably, but it was so bad it couldn't be his true running. Now, the tongue tie and the cheek pieces go on together. Noel Feely, well, I suppose he probably has to ride the Harry Fry runner. It is probably a small bit significant that I suppose if he really, really wanted to, he could have rode Doing Fine if he pushed it. And of course, that one's more fancied in the market and would look to have a really solid chance. But going back to what David said, Punchestown, when Fletcher's Flyer beat Forever Gold really well, he was ridden a bit more prominently there. I expect him with the cheek pieces on, he'll be ridden in the first 4 or 5 at least. I'd say he could even try and take it on, go out onto the final circuit. He's really well handicapped. And the other thing is, that day over at Punchestown was over 3 miles 6. And the last few runs have been, bar the Irish National, when he's pulled up over 3 miles. He's back up to 3.5 today. If he gets out in the first 3 or 4 early and gets into a bit of a rhythm, I think he could be run a massive race. And 8-1 looks a very fair price. Have you seen any symptoms of claustrophobia in the horse, Frank? I can't see symptoms of claustrophobia in people, so I definitely can't.
Whoa. Sure, Don Cossack was claustrophobic.
All right. Professor Jennings. Right, we're going to move on to Aintree next, but before we do, just time to congratulate Declan from Donegal, who won the free €25 bet from Paddy Power on Monday. There'll be another chance to win a free bet from Paddy Power in Monday's Postcast.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+ BeGambleAware.org.
So at 1:30 at Aintree, it's the Randox Health Beecher handicap chase over the national fences, and the most fascinating horse of the day for me, Black Lion. Frank, how do you bet Black Lion now? He's getting very short, isn't he?
Yes, he's 5-2 favourite. Villion Rouge 7-1 along with Adami. The Last Samurai is 8-1, Highland Lodge 10-1, Viva Steve, a Westerner Pointer 12-1, the Young Master Lord Windermere 14-1, and we're 16-1 bar.
James Hill, do we back, lay, or just watch Black Lion here?
I'd back him. I'm going to back him. I mean, I'd loathe to go for a short price horse in a race like this, but I just think he's so well handicapped. That was top form, that second place in the Charlie Hall. It's been franked, as we all know, by Bristol de Mai. And I can't believe he's been dropped £2 for that, but he has. That makes him very well treated here. He's probably the best horse to run in the race, I would say, since Young Hustler, who has a very similar profile. And Young Hustler, who came into this having finished second in the Charlie Hall, I think he was off a mark of 164, carrying 12 stone, and he won it. I mean, this horse is on 153. He's 11.5, 11.6. He's not even top weight. I think he's an improved horse from last season. I think ever since the Grand National, they've realised now that they can ride him up front. I think that's improved his jumping. Last year he had horses around him a bit claustrophobic, shall I use that word? Oh dear.
Come on, James.
And
we'll have to have, never mind W for wind ops, we'll have to have a C for claustrophobia.
C for claustrophobia, yeah, absolutely. They don't want to get it mixed up with course form.
No, that's true.
But yes, I mean, it is heavy ground, which isn't ideal, but he does have good form on heavy ground. I don't think the class of opposition is that strong. He really should win this with a clear round.
Okay, Paul Keeley was concerned that he might not be just a bit too small, and his view
he wasn't too small at Aintree last season.
Exactly,
he was loving it.
Exactly. I don't think he's shrunk since then, has he? Keels likes Good to Know, who's 16-1 with Paddy Power. Who does David Jennings like?
I spent quite a while going through this race, and after about an hour, I said, you know what, that was utterly pointless, because this should have been just taken a few seconds. Like, sometimes you can completely overcomplicate things, and it's better off to just stick to the obvious in this race. Blackline possibly could have and should have won a Grand National. It was a real uncharacteristic ride from Noel Feely, who should have waited longer, but his jumping was a joy to behold around Aintree in the Grand National. As James made the point perfectly well there, how he got dropped for that run in the Charlie Hall is a complete mystery. Like, he should be top weight in a race like this. Never mind getting £3
ran the race of his life there, DJ Weatherby, didn't he?
Yeah. He's getting £6 off the Last Samurai. Could any handicapper in the world tell me that the Last Samurai is a £6 better horse than Blackline? I don't think so. The one thing I will say, he's 5-2. He's a sharp price. The one horse I think will almost certainly be in the first three, and he's a much bigger price, is As the Me. He was 7th in the Topham 2 years ago as a 6-year-old. He won the Grand Sefton last year by 5 lengths off 137. He's 12 higher now, but he was 5th in the Topham. The way he jumps fences is made for Aintree. He loves it. He's completed the course 3 times. I think he'll definitely be in the first 3, but I just don't see how any way he can beat Black Lion. So I think Black Lion will probably win.
And what about you, Frank?
Well, look, he's the most likely winner on that Grand National run. He was, I won't have a bad word said about Noel Feely. He used to play soccer with his brother, as he's from not too far from where I grew up. But he probably did go a little bit too soon in that national. But and the fact that Black Lion's dropped £2, he'll be tough to beat. But at 5-2 in a race like this, it's been 2009 was the last time a horse carrying more than 11 stone won this race. So I'm going to go down the bottom of the weights and pick a couple of bigger prices each way with the 4 places, and see if I can maybe get him to place, if not maybe even win if Black Lion doesn't run up to form. The first one is horse of Owen O'Grey. It's called Westerner Point. He's run 9 times over fences, 1-5, finished second twice. Now at much lower levels than this, but interestingly enough, all his form over fences has been at like 2 miles and 2.5 miles. He beat a couple of useful horses like Monty's Meadow and Shadowcatcher, Riviera Sun as well. But he stepped up the trip recently off far lower hurdles marks, winning at Cork very easily on heavy ground, and just touched off by False and Blue over 3 miles of Clonmel last year. Now, as I said, it was off much lower hurdles marks than he is over fences, but he relishes testing ground. I think he should improve a little bit for the step up and trip. And though his mark of 134 is no gimme, he's only carrying 10-1. I think he has a massive each way chance. We're 12-1. There's as big as 16s out there. I like his chance each way. And the other one I'm going to give a squeak at him at a very big price is Portrait King. Backed him this 2 years ago, and he looked like he was really staying on when he fell at the second last. He was 6th last year off a £5 higher mark, albeit well beaten. He's back down. He's going to carry 10 stone. He probably won't win. He's 12, rising 13, but he's 25-1 to play. I think we're 20s. Yeah, you won't get. There'll be a lot far worse each way about we have tomorrow. So I'll put those up against the favourite.
Righto, and so to confirm there, James and DJ are going to row with the favourite, Black Lion, and Frank is going to take the jolly on with Westerner Point and Portrait King. Excellent, thank you very much indeed. The next ITV4 live race from Aintree is the 205. It's the download the app at 188bet. Fillies Juvenile Hurdle. What's the latest betting, Frank?
Malaya is 4-6, Grey Waters 9-2, Hillcrest Fire 11-2, Famous Millie 10-1, and we're 20-1 bar.
Not necessarily the most enthralling of the TV races today, so we'll get a quick tip from each of you. Frank, you can start.
The favourite probably be tough to beat, but her jumping wasn't brilliant to Weatherby, and she has to give weight away here. And I'm going to take a flyer on Hillcrest Fire for Stuart Edmonds. He's had 2 winners in the past few days. This horse won his debut at Leicester when making plenty of mistakes. Still won easily enough. Its best form on the flat was on heavy ground. I was rated 90 on the flat. I think this is the one that'll put up to the favourite and might even beat her.
What about you, DJ?
Oh, I think Malaya will win, Bruce.
Okay, and James?
Afraid I've got to be boring as well, Bruce. Malaya for me.
Lovely. The 235, the 188 bet, 188bet.co.uk, many cloud steeplechase commemorating the mighty beast. Only the 4 runners, unfortunately, but an interesting betting race nonetheless. Frank, what's the latest?
Definitely Red is 11-8, Cloudy Dream 3-1, Flying Angel 130, Alpha Desabo is 4-1.
We could have done with more runners, but it's a very interesting heat nonetheless, isn't it, James? Who do you think is going to cross the line in front?
Yeah, no, it always is an interesting little race, this one. I'm going to go with Flying Angel here. I know he's taking a step up in trip, but he did win I think it was in Grade 1 he won at Aintree last April, beating Cloudy Dream. And he'll handle the soft ground well. I think he'll improve for his run at Ascot. And it's just a question of whether he gets a trip or not. But if you look at his breeding, it gives you plenty of hope out of a Roselier Dam from the same family as Call It a Day, who won a Whitbread. So I think he will get 3 miles one day. It's just a question of whether today's the day. I'll take the chance that he will.
Right, Flying Angel for James Hill. David Jennings, who do you like here?
I don't fancy anything strongly, but the one thing I am pretty strong about is that the betting is all wrong. Now, I know this is Frank's job, but how on earth they can make Definitely Red 11-8 is completely beyond me, and I'd be staggered if the betting was similar to this come the off. I think Alpha Desabo at 4-1 is far too big. I'm not saying he's a certainty or anything like that, but you've got to factor in that obviously his wind and basically he was bursting blood vessels last season as well. Obviously that's been sorted. He was second at Total Recall in the Munster National. That form has been franked. He came out and produced a brilliant performance to win the Clonmel Oil Chase over 2.5 miles, over an inadequate 2.5 miles, might I add. He's better over further. And I think he's very, very talented horse on a flat track like Aintree. Like, you've got to remember what he did in the Stairs Hurdle a couple of years ago when he was second to the mighty Thistlecrack when Thistlecrack was mighty. How he's 4-1 and Definitely Red is 11-8 is an absolute mystery. So my advice would be to take the 4-1 Alpha Desabo now. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Cloudy Dream went off a lot shorter as well. I think Definitely Red will definitely drift.
Frank, apparently you're completely incompetent. What have you got to say for yourself?
Definitely Red will definitely win. That's what I'm going to say.
There we go. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Mr. Jennings. Now then, we come to the 310, the 188bet.co.uk Grand Sefton handicap steeplechase. Frank, give us some prices.
Yeah, Salmon Tagal is 3-1, Gasline Boy is 7-2, Mercy and Prince 5-1, Rattle Rose 8-1, Captain Redbeard, Arctic Gold and Mr. Fible 10-1, and we're 12-1 bar.
We're going to stick with Frank because I asked him before the show what his strongest fancy was, and he said he'd had a right thump on one in the Grand Sefton. Who is it?
I did. I don't want after time here, but I was looking at the race last night and I just couldn't get over the price of Gasline Boy. He was 8-1 after not being declared in the Beecher, and I was like, oh my God, this is just massive. So I cut it for us and I had a whack on 8-1 with the 4 places. Like last time at Aintree, I think it was a veterans chase. He was absolutely tanking out in front. He was 6 lengths in the lead and hadn't been asked the question. When, if you go back and watch the video, there was a big massive crowd of, it looked like photographers and people next to the fence, and it looked like they distracted him and he came down. I've no doubt he would have won very easily. He's off the same mark here. The horse that subsequently went on and won that race, the Romford Pele, actually won again at Leicester during the week, so the form has been franked. He's actually £2 lower as well than his Grand National run, which was the second last race he ran in. He jumped the second last, almost in the lead, but he got mullered by Cause of Causes, and he jumped the last maybe about half a length down, where again Cause of Causes jumped across him. Now, he didn't quite see out the trip that day, but he finished a very honourable 5th. And this race, like, there's not too many horses will handle the ground, and his mark is fair. He's proved he can get around the course. Obviously, you always need a bit of luck in running on with these fences, but Jesus, this is an absolute mighty bet, I think. yeah, the only danger I could really see, like you could make a case for Rattling Rose and Arctic Gold, but yeah, I think Gasline Boy is
even at current prices, Frank, you obviously got the juicy 8-1 last night. Do you think that the revised odds, there's still value in him, yeah?
Well, when I was looking at it last night, like 7-2, I thought there was a possibility if it cut up, he could get as short as 5-2. Maybe that's at the very bottom end, but like, yeah, like a winner's value no matter what price, Bruce. I think this will win.
Right. Okay. Well, Frank's very bullish. Have you got a strong view on the race, James?
There's one I like at a big price, quite a bit actually, called I'm Joe King. And I thought the bookies were joking earlier in the week because he was a massive price. But you wonder why if you watched last season's Topham, because you'll rarely see a horse, I think it must have been about 3/4 of the race, jump as well as he did. He was absolutely loving it. He was loving it so much, he just landed a bit too steeply at one of the fences and fell, I think it was about 4 out. But up to that point, I mean, he was going as well as anything. Lots of his form is on soft ground, so conditions aren't a problem for him. He's a couple of pounds lower than he was in the Topham, and he's trained by the Grand National winning trainer, Lucinda Russell. So I think there's lots to like there at a biggish price.
Good stuff, blimey. We've had 2 very strong cases so far. DJ, have you got a strident view on this one?
Bruce and Frank will vouch for this. I promise you, I did not talk to Frank at all. But one of my strongest fancies of the day was Gasline Boy. And I even had the photographer thing written down. It was utterly bizarre. If you get a chance, as everybody can now because the Racing Post replays are back, just have a look at that third last fence at Aintree. It's like, do you know in the cross country sometimes you can see a Punchestown or even at Cheltenham, a lot of them go a lot of the crowd go down to the big double. There must be some kind of event on or something because there's about 100 or maybe 150 people at the fence all taking photographs. And if you actually look at him jumping the third last that day, he completely takes his eye off the fence because he lands in the middle of it. So it was utterly bizarre. He would have won that race potentially by double figures. And if you go back to the Grand National, he was rated 144 in the Grand National. Coming down to the second last, he looked to have every chance. But Cause of Causes kept leaning on him. The whole way into the fence, he kept leaning on him. And Cause of Causes jumped across him. And in fairness to Robbie Dunn, he was actually lucky enough to stay on board because he jumped across him.
There must be massive echo in this place. I'm hearing... Frank said that Cause of Causes jumped all over him, and that's coming back to me now. What's going on here?
Sorry, I was just so frustrated that Frank picked him as well. I was like, everybody's going to think I'm just copying Frank.
No, they're not. We know you're an original thinker.
The other thing about it is, Robbie Dunn is actually, I think he's got a pretty good record over the Grand National fences as well. He's quite good over the fences, I think. And yeah, as Frank said, I thought 8-1 was massive yesterday as well. I obviously. I'm not dealing with the same sums as Frank, but I'll certainly be hoping he'll win for my wedding fund.
Jolly good. Okay, chaps. I actually need Gasline Boy to win in that case because I think I'm on the periphery of an invite. And so if DJ chops it off, I might just make the cut. Or am I absolutely got no chance, DJ? What's the score there?
Oh, yeah, well, it just depends on whether you want to make the visit.
Of course
it's very hard to get celebrities like you at an event like that. It's a very hard thing to do. So you're on the list as we speak.
Oh, lovely. I'm pleased to hear that. Right then, it's roundup time. The chaps have looked at the TV races. We've got the rest of Aintree, the rest of Sandown. We've got Chepstow. We've got Navan. We've got Wetherby. We've got Wolverhampton. Anything else on Saturday that isn't your nap, James, but you think we should mention?
Yes, I've got a couple. In the opening race at Sandown, the 12:05, I'm looking forward to seeing Enchia, how he does over hurdles. And I was very impressed with his run in a bumper at Cheltenham back in October. Him and the first horse pulled a long way clear of the rest. That form has worked out reasonably well. And his bumper form would be as good as any of these. Fit, firing, and seems to be progressive. So Enchia for me in the opener at Sandown. And also in the Welsh Grand National trial at Chepstow, that's a 2:45, Ballycross. Now, this was disappointing last time at Ascot. He seemed to be taken off his feet a bit that day. But heavy ground at Chepstow, I think, will be much more his sort of thing. He was progressive prior to that run at Ascot. He'd been running well in long-distance races on very soft ground, jumps well, and he's the sort of horse I could see to put that run behind him and improve a bit to win this.
I love the way you make your cases, James. They're very sort of understated but very compelling. I always feel comfortable when I hear you. I love backing James Hill tips because they're well thought out. I also love backing DJ tips as well. He says desperately trying to cement his wedding invite. How many horses feature in your roundup, DJ?
Yeah, James delivers his tips quite contrastingly to me. I think he's probably got the right attitude. Not that many, Bruce. There's one that I can't wait to mention, but he's my nap, so I won't mention him. But just at Navan on Saturday in the 12:50, I think Martello Park bumped into Ansi Lavavie last time. It was quite a decent run, well cleared a third for Mags and Danny Mullins. I think Martello Park will win the 12:50. Then there is the beast that was formerly known as Acapella Bourgeois, who everybody thought was an absolute certainty to win the Tri-Town. Was backed in the 7-4 favourite and obviously fell. But do you know what? I think he's actually, because people are not going to be sure of what to expect from Acapella Bourgeois, I have a feeling he might go off a bigger price than he should. I think people had their fingers burnt last time and will be afraid to go in again. But Apache Stronghold, I thought that was a horrendous reappearance at Thurles. I was so disappointed. And there is still a strong suspicion that Acapella Bourgeois, while I didn't fancy him in the Tri-Town, I still think he could be well handicapped off 149. So I think he could be worth giving another chance. And just a line on
what time's that, DJ? Come on. You know
that's
rules.
the 305 at Navan. Okay. And I might give Calico Jack another chance in the bumper. He bumped into a filly of Willie Mullins' the bumper at 335. He bumped into a filly of Willie Mullins' last time on his first start for 2 years. And they think a lot of him down there in Noel Meads. And perhaps he just bumped into one. I think he's a better horse than he showed there, and he might come on for the run. So that's Calico Jack in the 335 at Navan. And
DJ, talking of Mags Mullins and bumpers, she's got something on her hands, hasn't she? That thing with the one last Sunday looked very good indeed, didn't it? What was that called?
Unbelievable. Is it Downtown Getaway?
That was it, yeah. Downtown Getaway. That looked a really interesting animal, that. Okay, Frank, how many are in your roundup?
38.
Yeah, go on. Away you go. Don't forget to be nice and concise like DJ, okay?
Aintree 11:55 at Aintree. Montes Avaloir was probably going to make a winning debut over Hurls away Canton when he tipped up second at the last, with 2 lengths clear at the time. He gets £6 off the two rivals here. I think he should be good enough to win. In the 1 o'clock at Chepstow, Choose Your Weapon made a lovely debut over Hurdles at Chepstow last time, beating a good horse of Ben Pauling's Go With The Flow, just nabbing him on the line. They were 12 lengths clear of the third. He concedes a penalty here to the field, but I think he should be good enough to do so. In the Welsh Grand National Trial, you can never go too far wrong in these type of races when at Chepstow in heavy ground by just following Kerry Lee. And although Alfie Spinner hasn't got a great deal in hand off his mark of 132, I think he looks sure to go well at an each-way price. Over at Navan, I might just go against Dave here, simply on the suspecting that Sassy Diva might be a touch big, considering it's trained by Shane Cawley, who wouldn't be as fast as some of the bigger trainers. She placed in 3 listed bumpers last year and was a good winner of a bumper at Wexford. She'll handle the ground no problem. She should hopefully be an each way price. I might chance her. The 230, the beginner's chase at Navan. Any second now is up against Invitation Only. Invitation Only's proved to be a bit disappointing. He fell in that race. Mana Lee won last time. Any second now was second. If any second now was a bigger price than Invitation Only, I would be siding with him. And in that Acapella Bourgeois race, look, if Willie's done the same sort of job, I'm not suggesting he's going to improve in £20, but even if he improves in 10, he should prove very difficult to beat. But Fine Rightly might be one that you might get a bit of a price about. He's 4 from 4 over this trip. He's won over course and distance. He's run at the Navan 6 times. He's been in the first 4 times. He loves heavy ground. He's running off a mark of 145. His peak mark of 152. And it was only a couple of years ago he was good enough to place in an Irish Gold Cup. So, off a mark of 145, I could see him running into a place at least. And if Acapella Bourgeois doesn't run up to form, he might be the one to take advantage.
Let's get the naps.
This will not be beaten.
DJ, you've teed yours up. You're very sweet on it. Which one is it?
I'm not sure what price it's going to be, but in the 12:55 at Aintree, I think Le Bruel is an absolute certainty.
Okay, what sort of price are you hoping for?
See, it's only a 4-horse race. I will be absolutely delighted if it's 6 to 4.
Okay. James?
Oh, I'm going to go with Black Lion in the 130 at Aintree, the Beecher.
Are you going to have an unfeasibly big bet?
It'll be a biggie. Yeah.
Will it?
Yeah.
Aye. Jolly good. And Frank, who are you going for?
Gasline Boy in the Grand Sefton at Aintree.
Oh, that sounds like a very good Trixie to me. Well done, lads. Back with Sunday in just a mo.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hi there, it's Bruce Millington, James Hill, David Jennings and Paddy Power's Frank Hickey. We're looking ahead to Sunday. Some fascinating action. 4 cards, each of which has got a really, really good feature race. We will start with the 205 at Punchestown. It's the John Durkan Memorial Chase. And when you hear Frank read out the betting, you'll realise what a hot heat it is.
Yeah, Jack Adam is 5-4, size and John 11-8, Subtle 10 at 7-1, at Phil 20-1 along with Shane's Hill, and Carney Lock is the outsider of the field at 25-1.
David Jennings, what a race, eh? Sizing John against Jack Adam. Who are you going to go for?
Yeah, it's treacherous, though, Bruce. It's treacherous if you're getting involved from a punting perspective. I have been preaching for a long time that Jack Adam will win the 2017 King George. And I still think that, and I'm delighted to see my colleague Tom Siegel thinks that as well. 16-1 was a monstrous price. And I have a feeling now, I have nothing to go on here, but I have a sneaking suspicion, reading Willie's quotes and just from talking to people, that everything in the first half of the season has been aimed towards getting Jack Adam right for the King George. He's tailor-made for it, so I just don't know if he's going to be 100% right for this. And Willie has already said that he's not going to be as straight as he was in other seasons for this race. So I think Jack Adam will win the King George, but I think he might be beaten here. I think he might finish second. Sizing John is the obvious alternative. By the sounds of things, he's just come right in the last 2 weeks, and he did a spar. I was sitting beside the Harringtons at the HRI Awards the other day, and they were absolutely beaming with the piece of work he did last week. I think it was the first proper Gold Cup piece of work he did. It's the first time he showed anything like the form he showed in last year's Gold Cup. They were waxing lyrical about him. I think he'll probably win, but I think Jack Adam will win the King George.
And who do you think will win the John Durkan, James?
Well, that's a fair analysis from DJ. But we are looking at a horse who's won it for the last two seasons in Jack Adam. And I think I'd probably just narrowly side with him over Sizing John. I thought Tom Siegel made a very good case to him in the King George earlier in the week, just pointing out what an underrated horse he is. People knock him a lot because he keeps getting beaten in the Gold Cup, but to run well in the Gold Cup more than once, that's a tremendous effort. He's come close so many times. He's very consistent, tremendous jumper, travels well, and given that he's won the race the last 2 years, I think I've got to prefer him.
Yeah, well, I'd nearly agree with James. He's won the race the last 2 years. Now, Willie said he'll need the run and he'll come on for it. He also said Duvan would run in the Tingle Creek, so he'll probably be 100% fit on that basis. But,
that was a blow.
I couldn't resist, DJ. So yeah, I think, look, Jack Adam, 2.5 miles soft ground. I think he might just do Sizing John.
Okay.
Yeah,
right, lovely. 2:20 at Cork, the Kerry Group Hilly Way Chase. It's a Grade 2, and we've got an absolute top-notch horse heading the market, Frank. How do Paddy Power bet?
Yeah, Undasaw's 4-9, Ballyoshin 11-2, Top Gamble 8-1, Ball Dark, Cam Woodland Opera 16-1, or 33-1 bar.
Is it just look and learn, Frank, or is there a bet here?
It's probably look and learn. Undasaw will be hard to beat. Ballyoshin's a little bit interesting, getting £8, but at the same time, Undasaw 2 miles round Cork, heavy, probably be very heavy. Yeah, be very difficult to beat, I'd imagine.
What do you reckon, Jeno?
Yeah, I think it's very straightforward, Bruce. I just think at this stage of the season, when the ground is like this, he's almost unbeatable in this type of a race. He's a winter horse who does remarkably well, especially to win a Ryanair. But he does remarkably well to have won an Arkle and won a Ryanair on the ground that he's done that on is a remarkable feat, because he's a soft ground beast. And yeah, I think again a bit like Black Line at Aintree. I think this is just best to keep it simple. I think Undasaw will win.
Okay, and James?
Well, I mean, I do think Undasaw's been overrated through his career, but having said that, you can't knock his consistency, and he should have too much class for these. I'll say he'll give the weight away and beat them. Okay, really good race at Huntingdon. It's their big race of the year, of course, the 2:30, the Betfred Peterborough Chase, and Paddy Power's betting is as follows.
Top Notch is 5-4, God's Own 7-2, Petit Zig 6-1, Joss Hill 13-2, Sharbel 10-1, Kyle Murlock 12-1, and Sorry to Broogies 16-1.
Right, we've got to get through this without saying the obvious thing about Top Notch, because it's not relevant. James, you go first.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, I do think he's the likeliest winner in that he's good form at Ascot last time, won that well. He's progressive. This is exactly his type of trip and track. And the right trainer, Nicky Henderson. So what's not to like, really?
Well done. DJ?
How is this horse not 1-2? I think he's underrated. He's just in these type of races. He's just brilliant. Like, and yeah, I just can't see any way he should be odds against. So I expect him to go off odds on, and I expect him to win.
Frank?
I'd agree with Dave. I think Top Notch will shorten up a bit. He was brilliant at Ascot. You could crab the form a small bit, but look, last year his form was brilliant, bar Aintree when he was probably over the top. And like at this moment in time, he to me looks like the most likely Ryanair winner, not to mind the Peterborough Chase winner. I think he'll win.
Can I guess what you didn't want us to say, Bruce?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Go on.
That he's such a good jumper for such a small horse.
Exactly. It's the reference to the small horse. I thought someone might say he's not the biggest horse in the world. But anyway, you didn't, so well done. Now, the other good race on Sunday is the 140 at Kelso. It's the Persimmon Holmes Scottish Borders National. I don't think we've got betting yet, but it's an interesting heat. And James, to tell us who wins it?
Well, I mean, it's a very good race for older horses. I think 4 of the last 5 years it's gone to a horse age 11 or older. So I've got to go for an old favourite of mine, Scotswell. He might be a bit high in the handicap. I think he's off a mark of 119. But he's going to have £3 taken off him by Tom Dowson. Loves Kelso. So I think he's a solid each way bet.
Right. David, have you had a study up here?
No, Bruce, I haven't got a monkeys.
Okay, fair enough. And what about you, Frank?
I've literally had about a 10-second look at the race, but I'd see Christian Williams has James Bowen booked for Court Frontier. This horse, he likes to stay. He likes the staying tests. James Bowen is probably up there with Don McInerney and Mitch Bastian as the 3 top claimers around at the moment. He's the really go-to guy. Christian Williams, he's a shrewd enough man. Landed a nice touch with limited reserve at Haydock there. Was it last week or the week before? I'm just taking a punt on this. I haven't had a proper look at the race, but that really caught my eye that James Bowen's booked for that, and this will stay. Whether it's good enough, I don't know, but it will stay. Okay,
and of course, Frank meant jockeys rather than trainers, but he's been so fantastic all through the broadcast that we will overlook that one. Chaps, give me one more horse on Sunday if you have one. James, you got another one?
Yes, at Huntingdon, Keeper Hill in the 125. Good novice hurdler last season. He's going over fences now. He actually beat Mezir de Zobo, very good horse of Alan King's, at this track last season. Looking like he needed a step up in trip that day, and he's getting it here. I think this is over 3 miles. If he can improve on his jumping from his recent runs, then I think he could take the beating.
DJ, who's your horse?
Up over 3 miles, Bruce. I might chance Bilko in the 305 at Punchestown. Liam McKenna takes off £7, and he's only a 6-year-old, and there's a few has-beens in the race. And I just think he could be potentially well handicapped with Liam taking off £7. He's down to a mark of 122, and some of his form suggests he could be quite well handicapped. So I might take a chance on Bilko in the 305 at Punchestown.
And Frank, round off this broadcast in style with a winner.
That's the bumper at Punchestown on Sunday. Willie Mullins has won it 5 of the last 6 years. He's got one in this called Holographic. He was second in the Goff's Land Rover bumper at Punchestown, beaten a neck by Vision de Flow. That race worked out tremendously well. The likes of Early Doors finishing second in a grey one hurdle last weekend. Rapid Escape has won at least one bumper. Stacks Mountain was placed in a maiden hurdle. It's really worked out well. Caskmate was down the field, won a bumper. Apparently this is a really good horse, and I think that will win the bumper on Sunday.
It'd be 4s on by the sound of it, won't he, Frank?
Well, if I'm priced it, he won't be bigger than even money, that's for sure.
Jolly good, that's what we like to hear. James, what does the weekend hold?
So in the office tomorrow and off Sunday. I'm going to a carol concert on Sunday.
Carol concert? Yeah. Where? The local church?
It's a local church to my parents' place. So yeah, I've been there before. So
what's your favourite carol?
Got to be Silent Night, isn't it?
Silent Night, yeah,
nice and relaxing.
Jolly good. DJ, what's the weekend hold for you?
Working, Bruce. Working. Nothing too exciting to report, to be honest. I've no real... we might look at a few more wedding venues, but I think we've picked the one we want. So.
You need to make your mind up, mate. Are you going to have a DJ or a band?
Oh, both.
Both? Really?
Oh, God, yeah.
DJ for the DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't be doing it myself.
You could call yourself DJ. Frank, what's your weekend hold?
I'm working tomorrow, and then Sunday it's the famous or infamous racing room bus tour around Meath, the pubs in Meath. This always works out to be a really good evening of sophisticated conversation and a tip or two.
Oh,
and
Sounds awesome.
So yeah, basically go to really kind of old man pubs drinking. So we leave at about 5 o'clock on Sunday, and we finish up about 5 o'clock on Monday.
Does Brendan Duke still qualify for that, or is it once you're out, you're out?
I think he was invited last year. I assume he's invited this year. Whether he's going or not now, I don't know. I'll have to inquire. I'm not organised yet. But
Hold on. I'll ask him. Dukey.
Where is he?
Oh, he's not here yet. He's in usually for the other show here, but he's not in yet. Sorry.
That would have been a surprise. And is it one of those ones, Frank, where you have loads of rules, like you're not allowed to speak to the barman when you're ordering drinks and you've got to drink with your wrong hand, or do you just go out and go for it and get absolutely smashed?
Oh no, it's just go out and drink till you're full. That's about it.
Lovely stuff. Well done, chaps. Thank you very much. Well, Maddie is still swanning around Hong Kong, tweeting away. So I'm back in on Monday. So do join us for that. We'll look back on all the fantastic weekend action. And don't forget, if you enjoy the Postcast, do please go into iTunes, rate and review us.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.